So, the first theme that I'm going to be sharing with you today is stewardship. And the idea behind these lectures specifically is to talk to you a little bit about some of the verses that you're going to be hearing within Salat al-Tarawih, to allow you to contemplate or reflect upon these verses and upon these concepts. And the Quran has themes within it. The Quran is filled with themes, major themes and moderate themes and minor themes. And that's how the Quran functions, actually. And it's not repetition, it's a thematic approach to concepts. So the Quran is not a book that likes to repeat itself, not at all. But the Quran will talk about concepts and themes. So there's a theme, for example, about the Day of Judgment. It's a theme of the Quran. It will always talk about accountability and the Day of Judgment. So it's repetition of the Quran is not because there's nothing else to talk about. It's because that theme needs to exist within the surah in order for the idea of the surah to be complete. And understanding the themes of the Quran is important so that you can appreciate the verses and appreciate the teachings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is offering us within these surahs. And last year I shared 30 themes of the Quran, or 29 themes, and this year I'm going to share another 29 themes, inshallah, of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and probably next year there's another 29, 30 themes, and then I'll move on to something different the year after, but I want to kind of get through all of the major and minor themes of the Quran, as in what is it the Quran will constantly or often talk about, with the intention of landing the understanding or the comprehension of a concept. Because it's about understanding concepts, so the Quran is big on. The Quran wants you to understand a concept. Concepts require time. Saying it once never works. You have to say it more than one time in different ways to allow the human brain to slowly absorb what's being said. And that's the art of how the Quran actually functions. That's why the Quran is of such beauty. So the first theme I'm going to share with you within this month is the theme of stewardship. Good, we still have a lot of time. 30 minutes. The theme of stewardship. In Arabic, you would use the word istikhlaf. That would be the proper word from the Quran, if you're going to take the Quranic word. Istikhlaf, where you are left responsible of something on behalf of someone else. And a steward on a plane is the one who is responsible. The stewardess is a word that we use. It's someone who is responsible for the safety and the well-being of the people on the plane. And stewardship is a word that exists and is used in most religious texts and religious scripture, because it is the purpose of our existence. And this is important because when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to us and in the Quran explains to us what we're here to do, what exactly it is that we're supposed to be doing here, aside from walking around, drinking the water, eating the food, and saying hi to each other, what is it that we're supposed to be doing here? Well, he explains that you are stewards. And I've talked about this concept many, many times throughout the last maybe 5 years or 13 years of being here and 5 years of being at Wellness. And I think it's important that my younger brothers and sisters really take time and think about it. That is your job description. You're a steward. You're a khalifa. Not politically. You're not politically one. But you are spiritually and humanely one. As a human being, that is what you're here for. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts you on earth to do. You're going to worship Him subhanahu wa ta'ala through being a steward. You're not going to worship Him subhanahu wa ta'ala through being anything else. It has to be through being a steward. Being someone who's responsible for things. Someone who is going to be asked later on, how did you take care of this? What did you do? Explain yourself. So when you go to the verses in the Quran that talk about that, you find that the concept of responsibility is repeated time and time again to kind of bring that close. So is it up yet? Are the verses up? No? That's fine. I actually don't know the numbers, but I know what the ayats are. So the first 3 verses that I'm going to, or the first set of verses, I have 3 every night that I'll go through, that are going to be recited within the juz' that you're going to hear. So I choose 3 paragraphs within the juz' that you're going to hear that all have the same theme, and then I talk about those verses. So the first set of verses, يقول سبحانه وتعالى سورة البقرة, obviously Surah Al-Baqarah is what's going to be today and tonight. فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ قُلْنَا اهْبِطُوا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا فإما يأتينكم مني هدى فمن تبع هداي فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون والذين كفروا وكذبوا بآياتنا أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. So, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Adam at the beginning of it all, He explained to him what he was. Because Adam alayhi salam, when he was created, he was just like you and I, just kind of figuring things out. Breathing was fun, was nice. It felt good. Eating felt really good. Drinking water when you were thirsty, best thing ever. Attraction to his wife was even better than all of that. It was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable experience when he was first put in where he was put in. Everything was nice. Life was awesome. It was amazing. An experience that he had no way to explain. He didn't know why he had it yet, but he was really enjoying it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained to him, you're a khalifa. You're going to be a steward. You're going to be someone responsible for things. He didn't say what yet. He just told him, khalifa fil ard, on earth. He said, inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. He told it to the malaika, then he explained to Adam alayhi salam. And then Adam was given his first test. Adam, I need you not to ever eat from this tree over here. Everything else is fine, just don't touch this one. And Adam couldn't. Not because he was evil, not because he was unkind, and not because he was disgraceful, but rather because Adam had not figured out himself yet. He didn't know what these feelings were. He didn't know why. When Allah said, don't touch it, he suddenly wanted to. He didn't understand that. He didn't understand why he was told, don't take that suddenly he wanted to do it. And then Shaitan obviously came around and started to tell him lies. He told him, أَلَا أَدُلُّكَ عَلَى شَجَرَةِ الْخُلْدِ وَمُلْكٍ لَا يَبْلَى. When I tell you about a fruit, if you eat it, you will become immortal. Because Adam was also told, you're going to die too one day. One day you will die. You won't live forever. And you are not a king. I am the king. You are the servant in creation. Now Adam's nafs doesn't like that. Adam still doesn't understand his nafs very well. But he feels, for some reason, uncomfortable with these two pieces of information. He actually feels uncomfortable with all three pieces of information. He's a khalifa, doesn't like that. Doesn't want to be responsible. Doesn't want to be in charge of things. That doesn't feel very nice. I don't want to be in charge of anything. I would like to be in charge of nothing at all. Not even myself if possible. Let alone being in charge of a family or a community. I don't want to be in charge of myself. So Adam didn't like that. And then he's told you're going to die. He definitely didn't like that. Then he was told you're a servant, and he for sure didn't like that. None of them he did. He didn't like any of them. But he didn't know why yet. Because he didn't figure things out yet. And then Shaitan kept on, فَدَلَّاهُمَا بِغُرُورٍ. Shaitan came to him and his wife, and they kept on. He kept on going at them until they finally got weak enough and scared enough, and they went ahead and they ate. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you must leave. You must leave. You can't stay here anymore. You have to go and figure out yourself. You have to go understand what it is that what I have offered you, what this opportunity looks like, and what it is that's going to be the barrier for you, which is your nafs, is going to be your barrier. So Adam alayhi salam goes down, and he feels very ashamed of himself. It's the worst day of his life. He has lost everything, every beautiful thing. He has lost it. He was safe. He was secure. He was full belly. He had companionship. He had the ridha of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything was perfect, and now he's out in the wilderness. He's on earth, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and there are animals that want to eat him, and there's weather that wants to kill him, and he's not safe or secure. He doesn't have companionship. It wasn't fun for him. But he felt ashamed that he disobeyed Allah. So Allah فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him some words. Sent Jibreel say these words. What was he told? He say, Adam say, رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Say, my Lord, we have oppressed ourselves, and if you do not forgive us, and if you do not shower us with your empathy, then indeed we will be at loss in our lives. So Adam alayhi salam memorized the words, because he didn't know what to do. You're like, well, obviously he should do istighfar and tawbah. You know that, because Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam came and taught you that. But Adam didn't know anything yet. He didn't know. No one told him what tawbah was yet. He had no idea what it was. So Allah told him, say these words. So he said, Ya Rabb, ظَلَمْتُ نَفْسِي وَلَمْ تَغْفِرْ لِي وَتَرْحَمْنِي فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him repentance. So what happens next? All right, Adam, you're good. Come back to Jannah. Let's restart again. Nope. قُلْ نَهْبِطَا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا. Go down. Go down to the earth. Go down to the earth. I created you for it to begin with. This was a scripted scenario for you. An example for you to remember as you go forward. The importance of obedience to Allah. The importance of containing the nafs and its urges. The importance of feeling responsibility for that which you are responsible for. Adam, you were responsible for yourself and your wife, and you failed both. قُلْنَا اهْبِطَا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا. Go down and figure this out. فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُم مِّنِّي هُدًى. From now on, as I give you huda, moving forward, as I send you guidance, you must follow that guidance. فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. If you follow my guidance, you'll be fine. You have nothing to fear, and you have no reason to be sad or upset. And those who refuse, أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ. Adam alayhi salam, the heart had to learn what it meant to be a steward with some degree of difficulty. You were spared that. You and I, we were spared that. We were offered the solved example on a platter. Here's what happened to the first human being. Here's what happened with the first Khalifa. Don't make that same mistake. Of note, Adam never sinned again. Alayhi salam lived the rest of his time on earth, not one sin. It was aside from that first one. He learned his lesson. He learned the hard way, and he never crossed that line ever again. He obeyed Allah he made mistakes. We all make mistakes, but he never consciously disobeyed Allah ever again, alayhi salam. The mistakes he made were the mistakes of lack of knowledge, and the mistakes of forgetfulness, the mistakes that we all make every day. They're just a part of being human. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to see our father Adam and be united with him, and may he be happy with us inshallah the day of judgment. The second group of verses that I'm going to share with you tonight, I actually don't know what they are, because I usually have a projector that can tell me what the verses are. Because I can't memorize everything. So let me see if I have them here. Okay, I have them here. Okay. Subhanallah. And the title is wrong. You're using last year's. The title is wrong. Huh? No, I'm good. I'll find it here. So this year's stewardship. Last year was submission without compromise. So just use the right. It's just the first night, so we're going to forgive. The second group of verses. قوله تعالى ولقد جاءكم موسى بالبينات ثم اتخذتم العجل من بعده وأنتم ظالمون وإذ أخذنا ميثاقكم ورفعنا فوقكم الطور خذوا ما آتيناكم بقوة واسمعوا قالوا سمعنا وعصينا وأشربوا في قلوبهم العجل بكفرهم قل بئس ما يأمركم به إيمانكم إن كنتم مؤمنين قل إن كانت لكم الدار الآخرة عند الله خالصة من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولن يتمنوه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين ولتجدنهم أحرص الناس على حياة ومن الذين أشركوا يود أحدهم لو يعمر 1000 سنة وما هو بمزحزحه من العذاب أن يعمر والله بصير بما يعملون. The second set of verses talk about a group of people who were offered or granted the opportunity of stewardship, because it's an obligation, but it's also an opportunity in the same sense. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, when He tries to teach us, when He's teaching us how to be good stewards, how to be good khulafa, He does that by showing us the examples of the good khulafa and the ones who didn't do very well. So this example, the example of Bani Israel, who didn't do very well. They didn't follow the rules very well. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about them in these verses specifically. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَكُم مُوسَى بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. And Musa alayhi salam brought you all of the clarifications. And after he brought you all of the clarifications, and you knew exactly what was right and what was wrong, and you watched Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant Musa miracle after miracle in front of Fir'aun, and then you watch Fir'aun drown in the sea. اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ مِن بَعْدِهِ. You go ahead and you worship the golden calf after him. وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ. And you have no excuse aside from being oppressors. وَإِذْ أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ. And then again, we took your covenant again. Covenant to be stewards, to be people who are responsible, who will carry the message appropriately. وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورِ. And Banu Israel had this done for them while a mountain was hovered above their heads, telling them either you take this seriously or we crush all of you with the mountain. And they said, oh fine, we'll take it seriously. We'll take it. خُذُوا مَا آتَيْنَاكُمْ بِقُوَّةٍ. Take the beauty that we have given you. Take the Torah, the beautiful Torah that teaches exactly what the Quran is teaching. You see, the Torah and the Injil and the Quran, they all taught the same thing. To be a good steward, to be someone who understands what it means to be responsible, to take care of others, to be a shepherd of the well-being of those around you. خذوا ما آتيناكم بقوة واسمعوا, and listen and follow and obey. قالوا سمعنا وعصينا. We have heard and we disobey. We have heard and we disobey. وأشربوا في قلوبهم العجل بكفرهم. This is a very scary part of the ayah that people don't talk about very often. أشربوا شراب. أشرب. I'm drinking. أشرب does not mean that you made someone drink. Ushrib means something was put in a sense to make it, how it absorbed in something else. Because liquids are known that if you put them on a fabric, the fabric will absorb them. So ushrib means something is going to be set in a liquid, so that it absorbs, the liquid settles into it slowly. It's slowly, it be soaked in it. So it's going to be soaked. So what's being soaked in what? وَأُشْرِبُوا. Their hearts are going to be soaked in their love of the ijl. وَأُشْرِبُوا فِي قُلُوبِهِمُ الْعِجْلِ. The problem with sin is not that you did it. The problem with sin is that it stays in your heart. And slowly it soaks into the substances and the structures of your heart to the point where you can never get it out again. People who are addicted to ma'asi, to sins, it's because ushribu fi qulubihim, because they have allowed that sin to stay there for so long. Their hearts were soaked in that sin for years and years and years, and now to actually distract, to remove, to separate the liquid from the structure is impossible. If you soak anything in perfume long enough, it'll always smell good. Soak it in the sewers for a couple of weeks and see, does it ever smell good? Can you ever change the scent of it? Ushribat, khalas, it's been soaked, it doesn't go. Banu Israel, problem wasn't the mistake that they made. It was their ushribu fi qulubihim, their hearts soaked in that desire of having a sanam. They couldn't help it. Ramadans are one of our only opportunities in this life to get rid of that. If there's a sin that has been soaking inside of your heart for a long time, to the point where no matter how many times you think about it's haram, no matter how many times you're told it's haram, no matter how much you believe it's haram, it's not getting out. It's there because the heart has khalas. It's absorbed it. Ramadan will rid you of it. Ramadan will rid you of it. And you can't be a good steward without it. But Israel couldn't say sami'na wa ata'na. They couldn't do it. They couldn't. They said sami'na wa asayna. We listen and we're not going to follow. Why? Because ushribu fi qulubihim al-ijl bi kufrihim. With their kufr, they are now soaked in that sin, and they can't get out of it. It's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. Another sin of theirs that the ayat talk about is actually even more scary. قال وَلَتَجِدَنَّهُمْ أَحْرَصَ النَّاسِ عَلَى حَيَاةٍ. You're going to find them to be people who care about just living more than anything else. All they care for, their number one priority, is just the prolongation of life. This translates to debilitating fear of their own mortality. That's what it translates into. When you are so scared of death to the point that you will sell out on anything, you're willing to sell out, to compromise your principles, to compromise your values, because you're so scared of dying, then you don't really stand for anything. And if just living is your number one priority, then you cannot be trusted. You can't trust yourself. If your number one priority is to live, then you can't trust yourself. Forget about me trusting you, or you trusting me. I can't trust myself if all I care about is to live. I can't trust myself to take care of my wife and my children, because what if their lives and my life is at stake? If all I care about is living, then I won't protect them. I'll protect me. And I can't trust myself to take care of my own. A good steward cannot be like that. A good khalifa cannot be like that. They can't. Their priorities cannot be just to live. Their priorities have to be their priorities. The proper ones, the values, the principles. After Fajr, for the weekdays, for the next 21 days, I'm going to talk to you about what the values and ethics of Islam are, and how to prioritize them. Because it's obvious to me now that people don't even know what they're doing. It's obvious to me now that there's lack of clarity on this topic completely, where we don't know what trumps what. Forget about Trump. What is higher than what? What is more important than what? We don't know. So we make the wrong arguments. We remove an ethic that should never be removed, and we replace it with an ethic that is not its place. Not only in Islam do you have to know what the values are and the ethics are, you have to know what the ranking is too. You have to know what comes first and what comes later. And living, just prolongation of life, doesn't even exist there. Just the prolongation of life doesn't exist. Caring for the body does, for sure. Taking care of the amana you're given, for sure. But just wanting to live longer? No. It's not even one. If a steward becomes fixated on wanting to live longer, they will not be a good one. وَلَتَجِدَنَّهُمْ أَحْرَصَ النَّاسِ عَلَى حَيَاةٍ وَمِنَ الَّذِينَ. They just want to live. Any life, a good life, a dignified life, a non-dignified life, they don't care. They just want to live. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. You stand by something until someone puts a gun to their heads and they'll change. What life is this? You don't respect people like that. Your heroes are people who stood their ground with the gun to their heads. And they stood their ground. And they said what they believed and they lost their lives and they continued to stand by what those are our heroes. We make statues of people like that. We talk about people like that in these settings. We continue to remember them because that's impressive. And that is substance. And that is stewardship. And that is responsibility. And that is manhood. And that is Islam. If it's just life, I just want to live. No. 2 sins Allah talks about for Banu Israel that deprived them from their ability to be stewards. 1, their hearts soaked in sin. They didn't rid themselves of it. وَأُشْرِبُوا فِي قُلُوبِهِمُ الْعِجْلِ. And number 2, they prioritized just life, just prolongation of life. We have to, as Muslims today, learn from the mistakes of those who came before us, if we hope not to fall in them. The final group of ayat that I'm going to talk to you about, they're long, so I'm just going to take the piece that I want to share with you because we're coming close to Salah. قال تعالى وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ بِكَلِمَاتٍ فَأَتَمَّهُنَّ قال إني جاعلك للناس إماما قال ومن ذريتي قال لا ينال عهد الظالمين وإذ جعلنا البيت مثابة للناس وأمنا واتخذوا من مقام إبراهيم مصلى وعهدنا إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل أن طهر بيتي للطائفين والعاكفين والركع السجود. The example of a steward who did it well. Adam alayhi salam was the example of a steward who messed up front, but then got it right later. The example of all of us. Inshallah. Say inshallah. Because we all messed up at the beginning, and now we have the opportunity to do it well. The example of those who didn't do it well, and continue not to do it well, Banu Israel. They continue not to do it well, because they have no interest in doing it well to begin with. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove us from that example. Allahumma ameen. And then the third example of those who did it right, who learned and didn't have to make the mistake at the beginning, Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Allah uses that terminology to describe him. وَإِذِ ابْتَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ رَبُّهُ. And when Ibrahim was being tested, he was tested by his Lord. Test after test. Ibrahim was put in difficult situations. In Babel, worshipping the Islam, he had to speak up and be hated by everyone, to the point where they catapulted him into the fire and then kicked him out. He had to go speak to people who were worshipping the stars and get kicked out again. He had to go and argue with the king of Egypt. He had to go, alayhi salam was being put in test after test, alayhi salam. He had to leave, and he did it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَالَ إِنِّي جَاعِلُكَ لِلنَّاسِ إِمَامًا. Indeed, I'm going to make you an imam, which is another word for khalifa. Imam, a leader. You're going to be a leader of people. Ibrahim alayhi salam passed away with very few followers. Probably one of the fewest, one of the prophets with the fewest followers historically. Today, he is the most celebrated individual on the planet. Why? Because Muslims sallu ala Ibrahim, right? And Christians, yusalluna ala Ibrahim. And Jews, yusalluna ala Ibrahim. More than 2/3 of the planet send their praises to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Correctly or incorrectly. Some of them incorrectly, some of them correctly. But we all celebrate him. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I'm going to make you an imam, he didn't. He became an imam. But then Ibrahim had an interesting question. He did his thing properly. But he had a question. قَالَ وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِي, but I want my children also to be imam.